Hello and welcome to the Higher Expectations podcast with the Higher Advantage Real Estate. You'll hear from me, Ron, Josh, and Michael, a multi-generational family of real estate experts in Southern California. We're going to share some valuable gems on how you can live life a little bit better and throw in a little bit of motivation and inspiration on the way. Oh, today I've got my co-host, Josh Vigil.
Hello, hello, hello.
And then we have our very special guest, Amber Rosales, with Lawyers, Title and Escrow. We've worked together for a really, really long time. She's one of the best in the industry, if not the best. I don't know them all. I know Amber, and she's really, really good. Thank you for coming on, Amber.
Thank you.
How you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you.
That's great. Good to hear. For the listeners out there, tell us a little bit about how you got into the escrow business.
Well, it started when I was 19. I started actually in customer service at a title company. So I started there and then cross-trained into the title unit. So then I was on a unit for a few years. When the market had kind of tanked, they had me cross-train again into escrow to try and help if there were short-staffed or people were on vacation. I did that for, I think, roughly 2 or 3 months, and then they pulled me into escrow.
Okay.
And they wanted me in escrow, and ever since then, that's where I've been.
That's very good. Very good.
Yeah.
So in real estate, we all know that after a buyer and seller come to an agreement on a price on a home, the home goes into escrow. What are the first things that need to be done when you're opening escrow, and when does the escrow officially start?
Okay, so we always request a copy of the contract, so the purchase contract fully executed, any counters, buyer-seller contact information, commissions, so forth. We open the prelim, NHD, and then we send out wire instructions to the buyer.
Yeah.
But no deposit, no escrow. So everything, in our eyes, everything really starts when the deposit is in, because then the contract, they've acted on the contract and their agreement.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have those contingencies in place.
Correct.
Well, the first one is that the deposit's got to be in escrow.
That's
otherwise
right.
Nothing else really starts.
That's right.
So on those three things, there's escrow opens, the opening package, and then you have the prelim. So the prelim is the preliminary title report.
Correct.
And
from the title
what is
company.
that for?
That's just to confirm if there's anything on the property, any judgments, liens, see what easements are out there, any loans of record, if there's solar, HOA, any fun things out there. We'll find them on the prelim.
And those have to be remedied before the sale can go
That's
through. Right?
correct. Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, that's it.
So I'm sorry. I had a quick question before we keep diving into it.
Yeah.
For those that don't know what escrow is, for buyers that are purchasing properties for the first time and they don't know what escrow is, how would you explain that to them?
We're the neutral third party, but we make sure that everything is done in accordance with the contract, meaning the buyer's done what they need to do, seller's done what they need to do. We also collect the funds, make sure there's good funds in there, make sure deeds are signed, notarizations, make sure everything is in so the transaction is solid before it closes. You can't close a transaction if seller hasn't signed a deed, if you don't have good funds, things like that. So we're that in-between party, making sure everybody's done what they're supposed to do.
Awesome.
That's good. One of the things that I look forward to after we open escrow is getting that an email that says we have a verification of deposit. It's like, oh yeah, we have a real buyer here. That's a good thing.
Yes.
That's like, that's solid.
Little skin in the game helps, that's for sure. That's for sure.
That's it. And then on the NHD, so Natural Hazard Zone Disclosure, that part of it too, and that goes out to both the buyer and seller and all the agents?
Correct. It goes out to the agents. It goes out to the buyer and seller. We order the report. We provide the report. If there's any questions on the report, we do refer them back to the NHD company as it's their report. But we do make sure that the buyers and sellers sign, understand, and they sign the statement, and review it with their agent if they need to.
And I think the NHD is required by law, right,
Correct.
for every transaction.
Yeah, there's a lot on that.
Yeah,
NHD.
a lot. Good information.
So NHD's got 3 letters, but it's this huge thing. That's really big, important
The
part of
reports
the
are
whole
getting
thing.
longer, just like the contracts.
Yeah.
That's it. What was the other one I was going to ask about? The
Title insurance policy?
Title insurance. Well, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. So who are all the players? I know that we got the real estate agent, and then we have the buyers and the sellers, and we talk about some of the opening the package of the prelim and NHD. Who are other players involved in
our
escrow?
contacts for the file would be the agents, the lender, the buyer, the seller. If there's any TCs, any additional contacts in there, lenders, they'll have processors and so forth. But our buyer and seller, those are our principals to the transaction. They're the ones under contract. They're the ones that are responsible for, good funds and so forth coming in. And they're our go-to.
That's good. So when I first started, there was no such thing as a TC. It was the agent, and they did everything on their own.
Right.
So the TC is a transaction coordinator, and over time, it's got so not that complicated, just a lot of extra paperwork, and it's good to have someone that's checking, making sure the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and the specific disclosures are in.
Absolutely.
And you probably work with a lot of different TCs,
We do. We
right?
work with a lot. We do.
Is it like every transaction?
I'd say about 8 out of 10.
Okay.
So some of the ones where they don't, maybe it's a vacant land transaction that there's, some basics, that kind of thing. But on a standard transaction, they are extremely useful. Extremely useful.
Yeah, I agree. We love our TCs that we use, and they definitely help the transaction run smoothly.
Invaluable.
Yeah.
Right? They stay on top of all that, and I know because that's one for our transaction coordinator. She sends in a whole list of stuff.
Yes.
For you, which is really good because it explains like some of the players involved, their contact information.
Absolutely.
And communication is huge.
Yep.
In this business here.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sure.
So when it comes to escrow, when things running smoothly or there's bumps in the road that occur in an escrow transaction, what are the common things that come up that would cause a little bump in the road during the escrow process? Not that it falls on escrow, because some people tend to think that, but escrow is not the ones that are in charge of certain things. It's usually contractual disputes that come up throughout the transaction. Somebody's not performing their contractual obligations, things like that. But what's the most common one that you see come up most?
On a seller side, usually it'll be a lien or a judgment that pops up. Child support, spousal support, something of that sort that can throw a wrench in things. That's for sure. On the buyer side, they go and buy a new car. They buy a new car. They co-sign for a car. They don't realize they're responsible for it. It's now part of their debt to income. It can throw things all out of whack. Yeah. Those are some common ones, and unfortunately, they happen more often than not. No matter what you tell them, they like to go spend money.
Okay, so on
that's been going on for as long as I've been in business, over 30 years. So
there you go.
It just hasn't changed.
That's right. That's right.
So in those scenarios where if there is a bump in the road, and let's say whatever that issue that comes up can't be remedied and escrow cancels, there's what's called a cancellation of contract that we have to fill out. Both parties have to sign in order for deposits to be returned or to not be returned and to be given to the sellers if the buyers breach contract and liquidated damages are provided to the other side at that point.
Correct.
My question that I have to you on that is, do you run into, are you seeing a lot of times that money is being returned back to the buyers in those scenarios, or are you seeing it split where some of the money ends up going to the seller, for liquidated damages for the buyer not performing on a contractual basis?
Right. Most of the time, the money does get returned. But a lot of the cancellations, buyer can't qualify or they can't agree on repairs or something of that sort. So, it would be returned at that point. If we're ready for closing, and we've had this happen, we had a buyer that went and did a walkthrough. Something happened to the property. And buyer was like, I'm canceling. That's it. That kind of thing. That deposit is still in dispute.
Yeah.
So seller wants a deposit. They were ready for closing. They moved out of the house.
Yeah.
So, sometimes those ended up, they end up disputed, but most of the time it gets returned to the buyer.
I was thinking in my experience, same thing, because until they get past that disclosure removal period, if they've removed all of the disclosures and then they move forward, there really isn't anything left to do because there's no loan contingency, there's no appraisal contingency, all of the inspections have been done. Really, the only thing to do is sign their loan documents and close.
True.
And then if a buyer backs out at that point, then it's like, it's probably a bad representation on whomever their agent is.
Yeah.
But I mean, it happens. I had one years ago. The guy, the day before it closed, he goes, I'm not closing. I was like, oh, okay, well, the seller got his deposit. And that doesn't happen very often. I'm just saying that stuff. I mean, the verbiage is in there for a reason, and it's very lenient for the buyers to get their deposit back. So if you've got to do something egregious not to close and then for not to be able to keep your deposit.
Well, we had one that we were ready for funding, and a lot of buyers don't realize before the funder funds, they do a quick call verification of employment before they hit that button. They did the verification. He had quit his job that morning.
Oh my.
Yeah, apparently he had got another job. It was going to be starting the next week doing the same thing. But you quit your job the day you're supposed to fund a loan.
Wow.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, but that's, buyers not understanding the process, not understanding, hey, you keep to what we're telling you, this list. Don't spend money. Don't use your credit cards. Don't co-sign for a car. Don't do any of this. Don't quit your job. Nothing until you've moved in. When you're sitting on your couch in the house, then you can do whatever you want to do at that point, but not before. So,
And that's when that communication
Absolutely.
is still huge.
Absolutely.
If they ask us the questions about this, so you could probably do it, just not today.
Correct.
Just a little bit later. Can you wait a week? Can you do that?
Absolutely.
And then, otherwise they may not be able to get the house.
Absolutely.
And a big part of that is having good representation on their agent side, because their agent should be able to advise them of that, to stay away from doing these certain things while they're in the escrow process. So it shouldn't just be escrow or, other people telling them. Their agents should be advising them correctly too.
There's a huge team, and we don't have
Absolutely.
access. Like if I'm representing a seller, I really can't talk to the buyer unless the buyer's ours as well. And the same goes the other side. If we represent a buyer, we really can't go talk to the seller. But we can talk to the agents, and the agents can communicate, and the agents should be able to communicate with their clients.
Right.
It doesn't always happen.
This is true.
And then
This is true.
sometimes we get a ghost agent on the other side. And then we get it done anyway with the help of really, really good escrow officers.
Yes.
We try.
Help. Help. And because they reach out, they want everybody, nobody gets paid. I'm going to talk about this, but nobody gets paid until the transaction closes. It's like, well,
Absolutely.
we got to get it closed. If it's in the best interest of the buyer and the seller, we're going to get it closed. If it's not, then it's not going to get closed. But if somebody just uninformed because another agent isn't talking to their client, it's like, come on, help me out.
Yep.
I'm sure you come across that too. It's like, a lot of times escrows run really smoothly, throughout the transaction.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
majority.
We're only talking about
Yeah.
the ones that
Yeah.
have little rough edges around them. 'Cause the easy ones, no fun to talk about.
Right.
Yeah. Well, a majority of them run smoothly.
Most of them, most of them are. But the ones that stick out in my mind are the ones that didn't. The ones that run smooth, they don't. I forget about those.
Well, I'm sure the ones that run smoothly, you have agents on both sides that are communicating. You have, everybody that's involved in the game, they're all communicating with each other.
Right,
The ones
right.
that get bumpy are the ones that people are not communicating.
And there's another reason for the video is to let people know that when they're in escrow, okay, yes, you sign the paper, you put your deposit in. Where's my keys? Well, there's some things that need to be done along the way, and there's some cooperation, some communication, some signing of some time that needs to go by, and there's certain things that need to be met. And if everybody's working together and communicating, then it runs smooth.
Absolutely.
Because when people disappear, is when they don't run smooth. Because you can't talk to people, you can't get things signed, can't get disclosures done, and little things like that.
Absolutely.
But anyway,
Absolutely.
escrow is a huge part of every real estate transaction, and it's people don't really talk about it, but you need a really, really good escrow officer if you want to get it all done. And
Absolutely.
if you need one,
Right here.
Amber's really good. We'll give
Right
her,
here for you
we'll
guys.
give you her number later on, but we're not finished yet. So we've worked with all kinds of different transactions. We have like a standard sale, and then we have like a probate. So what's the main differences between a standard sale and a probate?
Standard sale would be your nice smooth one that Josh was talking about. Those are good. We're fine. Even with the hiccups, those are fine. The probates, they do take a little bit longer depending on the situation. Do they have the letters from the courts? What are we dealing with? Are we waiting for notice of proposed action? Timelines? Are we, what are we working with? Are we working with attorneys? Or is anybody in the property? There's a lot of different things in there. So we've had some of them that go really smooth. By the time we get into escrow, they've got all their paperwork in line and it's a go. But we have some that are kind of in the middle of the process, which that can delay it. And it's just information that has to be shared and disclosed. Because sometimes we get buyers that are a little bit, at first they're okay to wait. After about the 45-day, they're not as okay to wait. But, and also on the seller side, they're handling it on behalf of the estate. So them being patient, that's a huge thing because they're like, well, what's going on? What's going on? And we're waiting for the court. We're waiting for your attorney.
Right.
Unfortunately, we can't control those timelines. Right. So, I've personally gone over to the courthouse if they've told me, oh, the letters were just filed and we'll mail them to you. And I'm like, No, I will get in my car and I'll go over to the
Go get
county.
them.
I will go
Nice.
get them myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, because, sometimes you're waiting,
Yeah.
And a day makes a difference.
It
So,
does, especially if it's
yeah,
a Friday. I think it's Saturday,
absolutely.
Sunday, and there's a Monday holiday, and then that's next
Absolutely.
week for some time.
It never fails. Yep.
Yeah. So the probate process, if a property is probated, we'll definitely have to wait for the court system. And there's certain things that need to be timed. They take between 9 and 18 months, and sometimes I've heard people say it take longer than that. If we have to go through the full line of all of the process of the court.
Right.
If somebody has full authority, then it's going to go faster.
It's much
if they
faster.
had limited or partial authority, I forget the exact term, I think it's limited authority.
Limited.
And then sometimes you got to go through the whole court process with the attorneys, and we're just waiting.
Yep.
And so
You're waiting for them to stamp saying, yes, we're fine, and that kind of thing. Full authority, much easier. But I've heard of the process taking quite some time, and especially if there's multiple heirs,
Oh, yeah.
some want to sell, some don't want to sell. They're looking at different things. There's a lot involved. I mean, I give the attorneys credit there. That's a process for sure.
I agree. One thing I have to say that I like about Amber and her group is that, I've worked with a lot of different escrow companies and Ron as well over the years and being in real estate because we don't get to pick every escrow company that we work with. So
when we do get to pick, we pick Amber.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
But the thing that I liked, and it's one of my pet peeves that I have with other escrow transactions where the escrow officer won't talk to my clients. When my clients have questions about certain things, they have their assistants call and talk on behalf. And to me, I feel like if you're the escrow officer handling the file, and if your client wants to speak to that escrow officer, the assistant shouldn't be talking to them, even if they have the information. I feel like that it's part about building a relationship, a trusting relationship.
Absolutely.
And I do like that about your team, that you guys, work really hand in hand, but you jump on calls, you get on calls with us when we have questions about things and
absolutely.
stuff like that. And I really love that about Amber and her team. And not all escrow officers do that. So
I love the fact that they answer the phone, because there's a bunch of them out there. It just goes into voicemail, and then just leave a message. And it's like, I need an answer. I know.
Yeah.
And then there's always somebody at your office answers the phone.
Absolutely.
And that's just
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on that, and I like to talk to the clients. I mean, that's part of why I do what I do. I like people sometimes, but no, I do.
You're a people person.
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
well, I enjoy working with them, and I know it's the biggest transaction of their life. Whether
Yeah.
they're the buy, the sell, they all have a goal, and sometimes they'll vent to us that they won't vent, things they won't vent to you guys. So, I definitely wouldn't want to push them off to anybody or anything like that. We take the call and put their mind at ease, sometimes multiple times through the transaction. But, I feel like that's part of our kind of calming a little bit.
You wear multiple hats too, then.
We try. We definitely try. We've got therapist on there. We've got some other stuff on there. So
informal titles.
that's right. That's right.
What were you today, Amber?
Right.
I
All
can't let me
in
go
one
get my
fee,
book. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. So sometimes things come up in escrow, a tax lien or a notice of default. Where do they find that? Why does that stuff surface?
That'll come up on the prelim or when we get SIs run, which are the statement of information that we get from the buyers and the sellers. We have to order demands on those. We do have some clients that say, I don't want to pay it. It's not an option. Unfortunately, it attaches to the name. You own the property. Now it's a problem. So ordering from the state and, federal takes a little bit longer. State's not too bad. Child support can take a little bit. They have to research their accounts, things like that. So they can throw a wrench. They can create a little delay in there. But if they complete their paperwork in a timely manner, then these things are, usually
out
taken
pretty
care
quick.
of. Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
one that comes up on that that I see pretty often is when you have a common name, let's say John Garcia. There's a lot of John Garcias out there. Sometimes something comes up as
We're not talking about your John.
Yeah, we're not talking
Garcia.
about
It's in general.
Yeah,
John
exactly. Yeah.
Garcia is a common name.
So sometimes things get attached to their name when it's not them. And it's pretty easy to remedy at that point because they say, well, is this your middle initial? No, it's not my middle initial. Oh, okay.
Right.
We could prove that with just your driver's license and we can clear it, or,
Right.
whatever the documentation is needed.
Right.
So those are common things that I see come up on those, and as well as child support judgments and things like that.
Yes.
I think some of the crazy things on the title report is when, I don't know why this happens, it's like it gets recorded back and forth within a family. It's got different deed here, different deed. Like started like, a couple years back, and then the same people are on title, but it looks like it sold 6 times. It's like, what's going on there?
Between Google and YouTube University, anybody can prepare a deed. So they look at it, they record it. They can record it, and they can create an issue on their property. So they can mess up title really quick.
They're not doing it on purpose.
Sometimes it's, add my brother. No, take my brother off. Let's add my brother and my sister again. Well, no, let's take my sister off, all this stuff. And in between there, say brother and sister don't have great credit. They end up with judgments or liens on them. Well, if something is filed in between there, it's a problem because they were technically on title at that time before they deeded off. So there's additional paperwork, additional things that we need. I know a lot of people like to just record documents, and I don't like to be at the county recorder, but they do.
Well, it's very similar too with sellers that want to sell their homes and not be represented by agents. They pull these documents online, but they don't know that they don't have the proper disclosures or agreements in place, and what they're doing is exposing themselves to possible risk later down the road. Not by not doing things that should be done the right way. So very, very similar.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I like your background in that title side, because when things come up and it's a title issue, you know where to go.
Right.
To go help get it resolved.
Right.
And that's really, really nice.
Yeah,
Ron's not calling the title officer, he's calling you.
Do both.
which is totally fine. Well, usually as soon as we see it on the prelim, we see something weird.
Yeah.
I'll shoot him an email and say, just want to confirm for items 10 and 11, we're doing this, 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 and this. And I'll get a reply back, absolutely, or that's it. Yeah, and that kind of thing, just for confirmation from them. But 9 times out of 10, we know what needs to be done. Sometimes there's an oddball, weird thing out there. And we do have to call them and, see what we can get done to get it cleared.
Yeah. And you do other types of escrows too, not just, I can't say not just residential, but mobile homes, land, commercial. There are other ones out there. You do like everything,
yeah,
right?
we do the mobiles. We do a lot of vacant land, commercial properties, single family.
Private sales.
We deal with a lot of for sale by owners. Some of them were clients that we had before. We've had buyers that have turned around and did a for sale by owner, and they brought us back the escrow because they remembered us.
That's awesome.
I actually had a client. He had an old business card from a couple of companies ago, but he found me. And he was like, I found you. And I'm like, I'm going to replace that card real quick, and it's great. It's great to get the referrals and have them come back to us.
That's awesome.
That is good. Very good. So do you have like a motivational quote or saying or something that you either lean on or like to say that fun, exciting, or not so exciting?
Recently with some of these transactions, cross your fingers, cross your toes, hope it goes. Some of them have been a little rough. It's just, it's like it's just taking a little extra, CPR to get them going. But, that's the only thing I can think of. Yeah.
I have one thing, and I think this is important for all the sellers out there, because I get this question a lot from my clients. Is the home sold? When do we get paid? Right. And then I have to explain the process to them. They have to get, the numbers back from title and make sure everything balances and explain it. If you can explain that to sellers that are out there, typically from when the time that
agents
some agents out there, from the time that it records with the county to when you guys balance everything, there's a possibility they can get paid same day, but then sometimes if you don't meet that wire cutoff time, it'll be the next business day. But can you explain that whole process for somebody that may not understand?
Right. Yeah. So once we get confirmation, we get those final figures from title. If it's an outside title company, meaning somebody that's not our title company, we have to wait for their wire to come in. They're pretty quick in sending them. They do their payoffs and everything, and they shoot us the wire over. If it's our company, we're doing all that in-house. So we're doing that in-house, and then we disperse our files. Now, I've heard some horror stories where people don't disperse for days, and it takes days and weeks to get checks and stuff like. I don't know what's happening there. We disperse the same day, and like you said, sometimes the wire may not hit that same day, but we initiate it that day. So usually the next morning it will show in their account. If not the same day, sometimes it will still hit depending on the bank. But yeah, we have to finalize all figures, make sure all invoices are in, audit the file, do one final audit before we issue funds. Because once the funds are sent, they're gone.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure everybody's good, everybody got paid, and take care of the seller.
So if we don't have confirmation of recording until late in the day on a Friday, how does that work? Does it get it maybe on Monday, or does it just go into their account if they ask for it?
If the funds are
next 24
coming,
hours-ish?
so say we don't get confirmation until like 3:00 and it's an outside title company. That title company is not going to be able to wire to us. So they'll wire to us the next business day, and then we'll have to disperse when we get the funds.
Yeah.
If it's done in-house, then we can still disperse, but it will go in to whenever the next wire will go out to them, meaning the next business day.
I was thinking that because most of the time it is that same day.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
once in a while there'll be that, and that's why.
Right.
An outside title company, and they don't have time to wire that same day.
Right.
just
And most title
have a
companies, I
weekend.
mean, they're pretty quick. They want it off of their books as well. They need the payoffs to go out. Payoffs are, there's per diem interest on that. So they need everything to go get it out there. Some of the title companies will send them early, and then they'll hold off on sending our funds until they get full confirmation. We've seen that before, which is fine. But yeah, everybody's goal is to get it dispersed same day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the reason why I asked that is because commonly when sellers sell their home, they're waiting on those proceeds to come in so that they can pay for their movers.
Yep.
They can utilize those funds to help them with their move.
Correct.
So if you're an agent out there, if you're working with an agent, and if you know that close date preliminary is going to fall on a Thursday or a Friday, work out a seller to remain in possession for 3 to 5 business days after the close, in case you run into that scenario where those funds are not available the day of, and if you have to wait through a weekend, that you'll get them on time, and then you'll be able to utilize those funds to make that move. So that's the reason that I asked that question.
That's a good question, because the other thing that reminded me when you asked that question was that if the property's in a trust and the proceeds, the check's going to be made or wired to an account in the name of the trust. If you don't have an account in the name of the trust,
Correct.
Can't
they
cash it.
can't send the funds,
That's
and
right.
because there's no account attached to it. I had this one client years ago that they packed up and left, and they were driving from California to Florida, and they had their trust packed, and they needed to get an account attached to it. So when they got to where they went, and then they opened up an account in their trust name, and then they wired the funds. It was, I forget, 2 or 3 weeks after it closed, and it was nobody's fault except that they didn't have an account attached to that trust.
We run into that quite a bit
Yeah.
because when we go over their paperwork and they've got their disbursement instruction, it will show on there the name of the trust. And then we have them initial that the account is under the name of the trust. We've had that. We've sent the wire. It bounces right back. And they're like, oh, well, we didn't know. And I'm like, okay. So then we have them go and get it added. But when they do their trust with their attorney tells them to do this, because sometimes they'll bring their binder, the big binder
Yep.
for the trust. They'll
Yep.
bring it,
Yep.
and it will have in there, take this to your bank, do this and this. And I'm like, okay, so they knew, but it was just not, it wasn't something they need to do right then.
They didn't, right,
So,
not when they
which I
made it.
get. I understand
yeah.
everybody gets busy, that kind of thing. But yeah, proceeds have to go to the seller of record, and that is the entity that owns the property. So it has to go to the entity.
So ever since that happened, I remind my clients that if you have an account attached to the trust that they can
Absolutely.
send the money to, yes, we do. Good deal. If you
Good.
don't, start it now.
That's
So
right.
that in 2 weeks, however long it takes to get your account attached to your trust, you'll be able to withdraw the funds when the transaction closes.
Absolutely.
That's the benefit of working with somebody that's so seasoned that
There we
knows
go.
these things.
I made the mistakes. I already learned. I'm doing it again.
One other thing that comes up a lot in escrow transactions, if you can explain it, is the FIRPTAs, the not being a U.S. citizen and selling the property. There is a tax that's associated with that, a sales tax. Can you explain that to those who are thinking about selling, that they want to factor that in just so that they're aware?
Yeah, if you don't have a social, if you are a foreign status, can you sell the property? Yes, you can. But the FIRPTA tax, 15% of the sales price. does get sent in. Now we have some people that'll say, hey, we need to delay the transaction because we need to get an I-10, which is something, it's a tax ID for them, but it's for foreign individuals. So then they will get that I-10, and then when we file and we send the money, then they can file a tax return and try and get some of it back. So we have some of those. Most of them will just say, you know what, go ahead and withhold it.
Take it off the top.
That's right. Yeah. Take it off the top and send it. It's not fun, but it is part of the process. So, but we have all of our sellers signed verifying if, they are U.S. citizens and so forth. It's a requirement for our files.
Yeah, and what's the reason why they sign that form, right? Because if you're supposed to withhold funds, and if that's not disclosed,
correct,
and if the new owner takes over ownership of that property and that was not paid,
correct,
then it falls on the new owner, right?
Correct. The way that the law is written and the way that the forms are written, I wish they would change some of that stuff. I mean, right on the form, it says this buyer is going to withhold this, and this buyer, and then the buyer reads it and they're like, what am I doing? We're like, yeah, no. But it's the same thing like franchise tax board, the 593, withholding, same kind of thing. And, I mean, the forms, I wish they would be better, but they're just not going to change them. Yeah. They're just not. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for explaining that.
Of course.
Good. All right, so now we have some fun questions.
Oh, okay.
All right.
That works.
So what is your favorite movie?
I like The Holiday.
The Holiday?
The Holiday.
And what's that? I know it's about a holiday.
It's a Christmas movie.
Yes.
Is it a newer one?
No, I feel like it's a little bit older, right?
I started watching it with my kids around. I was like, I can't have you guys watching this. There's some things in there.
I just think it's funny. I like comedy.
Me too.
I'm a comedy person, so I like comedy.
I should watch it.
Yeah, you're not going to see me at the movies watching a horror film. We're good. I'm okay. But yeah, comedy. I like comedy.
That's good. Do you have a favorite song?
I mean, I would say mine and my husband's song. So, I mean, I guess I could say that. Another one.
I'm bad with names. I just know the tunes.
So people ask me that. So man, I got like 1,000 of them. I don't have like a favorite.
I have to get back to you on that because I have I'm already like in my head. I'm thinking about all of these songs.
The holiday,
I'm like, okay,
it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. That's what I'm thinking of. That's not my favorite song. That's a good one.
I was gonna say we just heard that. We just
got past that.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean the song with me and my husband, "Hanging by a Moment." I love that song.
Do you have a favorite food?
I like Italian. I like Italian.
Can't go wrong with Italian. Huh?
Good stuff. Yeah.
That's all kinds of Italian.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. We like pizza.
I love pizza.
See, there you go. You can't go wrong with that. Not with kids. They will eat it.
Yeah.
They will eat it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then your favorite book, if you've got a favorite book.
I just got done reading the series, The Housemaid. They just came out with the movie for it, but I just got done reading the series. It's like 3 books. I think it was 3 books.
Isn't that horror though?
Oddly enough, what was funny is when I read it, I was like, okay, this is a little bit, there's no comedy in it at all. And I was like, okay, my husband saw the preview for the movie and he's like, what are you reading? I know, I'm sorry. I don't know, but it was actually a good book.
Well, you read 3 of them, I must have been.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. So
that's very good. Very good. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to open an escrow and get some more information from you, how would they go about doing that?
They can always call 661-456-0930. They can email me, amber.rosales@ltic.com, or even my team email, teamamber@ltic.com. We're here in Lancaster, so we're not far.
Yeah.
And we'll connect those numbers
Absolutely.
and links in the text.
And they service outside of the Antelope Valley area. They service all areas. So
everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere. Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I very appreciate your time, and thank you for coming. We had a great time.
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Amber.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thanks.